we're Team 4. I'm Allie, and I'm joined with Alex and Dee and Tony, and we are going to be presenting on the beer today.
So during the course of this presentation, we will ask 3 questions. The 3 questions will yield 3 rewards. 3 really cool Starbucks cards. They are 3 rewards at different values. One is $5, one is $10, and one is $0. The person who gets it right gets to choose or the first person to get the question right gets to choose theirs between A, B, and C. And now we begin.
All right, good evening, everybody. So to kind of piggyback off of what John was talking about and what could be beneficial for Airbnb is there has been a massive surge in the airline industry and the desire to travel. So I went ahead and pulled some interesting facts from a couple articles that were published in April. There's been a 600% spike in US travel to Europe. Now again, it hasn't reached the same levels it was before the pandemic, but it's definitely an increase. Also, I found interesting that a lot of people are being invited to weddings and then also wedding receptions, people that may have gotten married during the COVID pandemic and did a smaller gathering, and now they've invited everybody. So people are definitely hitting the road. And then finally, I found an interesting fact that people are more interested in traveling than buying a home and having a baby. So that kind of shows the real pent-up demand that exists for travel and to go to the airport and go ahead and see loved ones and family. Next slide. So with that, we've all probably dealt with the TSA as we've gone to the airport and really had to deal with the frustration that comes from that. So there's definitely a TSA choke point, and with that, we have a video that we would like to show.
What if you could get rid of your kitchen garbage at the push of a button? Hey, I'm Matt from Pila, and I want to introduce you to my friend.
All right, the busy summer travel season, it's in full swing, and no matter where your vacation plans take you, if you are flying, you might want to listen up. People having a lot of trouble making their flights now. We're talking TSA shortages, the plane delays, passengers saying they are beyond frustrated. WJZ live tonight at 7 o'clock. Kelsey Kushner, she's at BWI with everything you need to know. Kelsey.
Rick, well, TSA officials say they have received over 3,000 reports of frustrated passengers. That's either from plane delays or long TSA wait lines. But today they're asking people for their patience. It's another busy weekend at BWI Airport, and the level of frustration with travelers is high. TSA officials say as more Americans fly again, the lines at security checkpoints are getting longer, and TSA may not have enough staff members to keep up. This comes as more delays continue at our nation's airports, from TSA security officer shortages and pilot shortages to flight cancellations and delays. All are contributing to longer wait times and frustration among travelers. And officials are urging people to get to the airport early.
We are seeing that people do need to get to the airport early. We do recommend that people get to the terminal 2 hours before their scheduled flight.
Now, TSA officials say that they are now starting to train airport staff members, flight crews on self-defense. That way they can keep themselves and other passengers safe. Reporting live at BWI, Kelsey Kushner for WJC.
So that video touched upon the struggles that the TSA is currently experiencing. They're having a shortage in their workforce. People are getting upset. They're getting frustrated. And we were able to find a case study that talks to biometrics as a possible solution, innovative solution to help TSA through the verification process. One of the major choke points is when the TSA has to validate your driver's license and say your boarding pass is good to go. But there are ways that you can use technology and biometrics to allow an individual to go ahead and validate their identity through technology and skip that process. And imagine if you were standing in line at the airport, if you're able to use that functionality, how much time you could save. You could show up to the airport with 45 minutes to an hour. That's one of my biggest frustrations in the airport, when I have to go 2 hours early. That's to me, that's a bit of a waste of time. And if I was able to go to the airport and not have to plan for that, it'd be very beneficial. So we were able to find a case study written by Bashir Patel. He is out of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. It's in Dayton Beach, Florida. And he was able to outline within his master's thesis how biometrics could be used to expedite the airport experience. You know, he talked about a lot of the frustrations that passengers have and what the video just elaborated on, and then he talked about how iris scanning and fingerprints can be used to help verify a person's identity. And so something that was new to me is I didn't know everybody's iris is individual and distinct from any other iris. We've always heard that about our fingerprints, but also the iris also stands out in that way. So it was really eye-opening, and really he did a great job about outlining how biometrics could be used. Next slide, please. And with that, tying into some of our textbooks and the concepts introduced in the textbook, in the individual's writing style and the way he laid out his case and what he was able to research, highlighted how innovation and being a first mover within this industry could really help them stand out. And within his case study, he also brought up the Clear company, which we'll talk about in a second, and really talked about how they are trying to tap into this innovation possibility, how they're working to be a first mover or be a first mover and have that advantage. And then also talking to market segmentation and being a specialist in that field. So the Clear company, which we'll talk about in a second, and I think it kind of flows nicely, how the case study highlighted how technology could be used in this sphere, and then we're going to introduce the Clear company and how they look to use the technology that's available to them. So just in regards to textbook, innovation, being a first mover allows you to definitely monopolize and corner a market. And then also, if you do find yourself in an advantageous position, do you want to stay in a niche and stay in that realm? Next slide. And so with that, the Clear company. So we may have seen this at the airport. They look to use the new technology and the innovations that are out there to help verify and validate people's identification, so you can skip that part of the airport experience. They're also at stadiums, and they're also at other venues that have to validate and verify a person's identity. And they use biometrics, they use iris fingerprint scanning, and then they also use some information that only you would know when you set up your account. It costs $178 a year, but you know, if you're standing at the TSA line, is it worth $178 bucks? Sometimes I'm like, yes, charge me, like let's just kind of pass this experience. And with that, next slide. And we found a video that quickly highlights what the Clear company looks to achieve.
You're ready to start your own business. LegalZoom can help you set it up. We help launch and support millions of small businesses. It's kind of our thing. Start an LLC, corporation, or nonprofit with LegalZoom.
This was our video with 30-second commercials.
And well, boarding a flight out of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport just got a little bit easier.
In fact, new technology is speeding up the process in the blink of an eye, or in some cases, a thumbs up. Local 10's Todd Condon explains how it works.
Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International is now the 26th airport in the country to have clear biometric security checks.
They're using their fingerprints or their iris, a quick, rapid scan. Boarding pass pops down and is approved, and then they're done.
You still have to do a physical TSA screening, but you cut out the line for TSA to check your ID and your boarding pass, so I decided to sign up.
Just look for the Clear kiosk if you have your license and a credit card and can answer some questions about yourself. You can do it in less than 3 minutes.
We ask you some questions that only you'll know the answers to make sure you are who you say you are. And then we take your biometrics and we marry the biometrics to your credential and to you.
And just like that, I am Clear Go. Now, it will cost you $179, but if you have a SkyMiles account with Delta, you can get a discount.
Clear says they already have over 2 million members that have used the service over 18 million times. Those with cybersecurity concerns should know all your data is encrypted, safeguarded, and never sold.
It's bing, bang, boom, you're in and you're out. So that's why I love it.
people traveling with you get a little jealous when
Yeah.
you're at the bar and they're still waiting in line?
Angry people in the next line. It's like having a fast pass for the airport, right? Everybody's mad but you.
Right now, Clear is operational in Terminal 2, but they hope to open Terminal 1 soon, and the other 2 terminals when construction is complete. They also hope to expand their services in the future.
We think that the entire experience from curb to gate in the airport can be done through biometrics. So whether you're checking a bag, getting on a plane, paying for something at a vendor, it can all be done using your biometric.
At Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, Todd Thompson, Local 10 News.
So we felt that video really highlights what Clear is working to achieve and how they're looking to use technology and innovation to help speed up a slow process, or a slower process than we would like it. So, next slide, please.
And a minute now. Can you guys take the paper that you got, the handout? Go ahead and flip it over, put it face down, please. Honor system. Yeah, honor system.
All right. First question. Correct.
Aeronautical engineers.
Yes. You remember what state?
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yes.
A, B, or C?
Prepared.
$100 one.
A, B, or C?
Hey.
A it is.
Yeah, John.
$5. You can only get water.
It means 10 and 0 left.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
scary.
no bigger
Deal or
than
no
one
deal.
left, right?
With that, I'd like to hand the floor to NC.
Okay, so Clear Inc. was initially established Clear Inc. was initially another company. It was owned by Stephen Brill, and in 2009 he ended up filing bankruptcy. He cited an inability to pay one of his major creditors. With that, it was then bought out by Karen Seidman Becker and Ken Cormick, who took it over in 2010. 2012 received a certification under the Safety Act. The Safety Act is to support anti-terrorism by fostering effective technology act of 2002. Between that time and 2021, or currently, it's grown to over 50 locations. This includes most major airports, stadiums, and theme parks. Yeah. In 2021, they conducted their IPO, and they are now a public company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. As seen here, Karen Seidman Becker, who has been featured in companies such as Ernst & Young's Innovative CEOs. I'm familiar with Ernst & Young, ask me how. As well as Ken Cormick. They currently operate in 23 states. The most recent location opened 3 weeks ago in Ontario, California, Ontario International Airport. In Washington here, notable locations include, outside of SeaTac obviously, is T-Mobile Park and CenturyLink Field. Texas has all major airports. This includes Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Arlington. California has the most in, again, most of the major airports, as well as Crypto.com Arena, previously known as Staples Center, as well as Petco Park in San Diego, and the Oracle Arena in Golden State. Yeah. In San Francisco, I say Golden State, huh? Yes, and New York includes the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, as well as Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, and all major airports. Here are several of the patents that is assigned to Clear if you go into the U.S. Patent Office, Patent and Trademark Office, as well as like justia.com. You'll see a list of all the patents that are assigned to them. They include biometric ticketing, biometric pre-identification, biometric exit with an asset, physical tokenless security, screening user biometrics. This is where the innovation comes in, the ability to obtain these patents, ultimately make them the front runners, whatever the term was. Yes.
Oh yes, first mover.
First movers. Yes. There we go. I read that book. Process innovation. Now, the goal here was to analyze the process innovation as well as the product innovation. So here we'll start with the process. Many people here are familiar with lines such as these, am I right? Going through the airport, you drop your bags, and immediately after checking your bags, if you check your bags obviously, and if you don't, you then have to get in line for the TSA. There's two lines. There's the TSA line, which is usually absurdly long. Then there's the TSA pre-check, which can still be pretty lengthy. And Clear is a separate entity from TSA pre-check. So with that, with Clear, you completely go around both of those lines. Maintaining a Clear membership does not exclude a person from having to go through those security measures. It only gets you to the front of those lines, okay? So it's actually recommended to have the TSA pre-check along with the Clear membership. Speaking from personal experience, I do not have TSA pre-check, but my wife does. So when we go through the airport, we both go through with our Clear memberships, and then she goes through, after we verify our irises or fingerprints, we get to the front of the line, we get those nasty looks from everyone else, and then she goes to the TSA pre-check line where you don't have to take off your shoes or anything, and then I go in through the normal line in which I stay there and take off my belt and my shoes and everything, and she meets me at the other side. So it is recommended to have it in conjunction with the TSA pre-check to make the process that much smoother. The innovation in the process takes place after checking luggage. As mentioned, when most others join the security line and manually verify the person at the security desk, they manually look at your ID, they match it up with your face, they tell you to pull down your mask, and then you look at it like that. As opposed to that, you actually just go to the machine, you scan your finger, you scan your boarding pass, and then you continue to go. It's a really smooth process. The annual fee is actually waived if you have Amex. Throwing it out. Product innovation. Now, again, there's two methods of verification. So the idea itself isn't unique. Obviously, many of us use our phones to unlock it with your fingerprints or your eyes now. Now, the process itself isn't unique. However, the product is unique in that, as mentioned, your irises are individual to you. So anyone can unlock your phone, you can scan your phone, or you can assign the unlock feature to anybody's face or to anyone's thumbprint. You cannot assign those things to anyone else as far as your identification is concerned. So that's what makes the product innovative in that sense. The proprietary manner in which Clear's system attaches the biometrics to a specific person, especially in a public setting, is what makes this product innovative. As well, Clear also maintains a health pass. During COVID-19, Clear established this health pass, which allows organizations to verify proof of vaccination and or negative COVID results, as opposed to walking around with a piece of paper that is destructible. You have the Clear app in which you can upload your results, and you then have that identification method. It works two ways. One, it works as just proof of vaccination. Here, I'm vaccinated. Here, it's been verified by a biometric company. Secondly, it allows for any kind of events or any kind of venues to send out pre-registration immunization checks. You can register for the event and register and show them that you are verified. That way, it's simple. It looks as simple as this. You open it, you press the app, you go to Clear, digital vaccine card, bam, sis, there's my vaccine. Anyone can scan your QR code and see the dates and the method of vaccination. It's as simple as pressing it twice. With that, next question. Name one of the patents assigned to Clear listed on the earlier slide. Xavier.
Tokenless passes.
Tokenless passes.
Tokenless receipts. Something like that.
Does he get that?
Yes.
That's all right. Give it to him. Physical tokenless security screening using biometrics. Well, the tokenless was in there, so you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Zero.
B or C?
Fingers crossed, go for it.
Yeah, ball doesn't lie.
C it is.
That's a ball doesn't lie.
All right.
Deal or no deal?
Zero.
Always go with the middle. And with that, I'll pass it over to Alex.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm gonna get a little bit into the R&D for the company. Basically, it's super simple. I mean, again, like NC was just saying, it's not like new technology per se, but the product or the idea itself is kind of unique. Just their vision is building a better tomorrow. Basically, their biggest, in summary, their goal or vision, they kind of said at the end of your second video, is they just want to be completely, to not touch anything, not to have your wallet, I mean, completely touchless and completely use your facial ID for secure identification and purchases. I think they're going to get into that towards the end of the video, but they basically don't want you to hold a wallet anymore, and everything can be done just by your finger or obviously your eyes. So a lot of their R&D really is a lot of collaborations, a lot of strategic partnerships that they've used, either using their technology and mixing it with their own, or just using it there to get into a new market, and then from there they're trying to develop more stuff. Just a quick collaboration that I thought was pretty cool. Just with Microsoft, I know obviously everybody's super worried about information getting leaked, and that's just a huge part of today's society. So I think it was 2019, don't quote me on that, but it was either 2019 or 2020. They collaborated with them to basically ensure secure identification and credentials, especially when you get to stuff like health records and vaccination stuff, obviously very sensitive subject matter. So they wanted to make sure they were secure as possible. So when they collaborated with them, they kind of used some of their technology for that. And then the second partnership, Tappets, I've never heard of this company, but that expansion, or in my opinion, this was their biggest partnership because it allowed them to go past airport security and into, like NC was saying earlier, like sporting events, entertainment, retail, just all sorts of anything that you would really need an identification for. That this company with Tappet, they're a cashless and data company. So when they combine with them, they just kind of open the door to a lot of new different things. I know one feature I thought was super cool from that partnership was they're looking into basically age-restricted purchases using Clear. So like you wouldn't have to, it's super annoying when you get carded at, wherever, and because everybody has to have a mandatory, we-card thing, and you can obviously be like 60 years old and, but you have to go through the whole thing. This obviously you wouldn't have to bring your wallet anymore. You can just show up and, they would do the thing for you. So I know they haven't released that yet, but I know they're working on that, and it'd be especially useful in like, obviously Staples Center, crypto.com now, and sporting events especially. That would make turnover a lot faster for them. There's just a whole sorts of benefits, but we can go to the next page. So some more key partnerships and acquisitions that I thought were pretty cool. The Uber partnership is actually super interesting. So it's called Home to Gate, basically app integrate. I don't know if anybody's ever used this, but it rolled out, I think, right before COVID. So they might be still working on the kinks, but basically they really mean home to gate. I mean, they analyze traffic times, security wait lines, literally the walk from the security to your gates. Like they calculate that into the equation, and then from there, obviously the Uber part is getting you home from the gate to where they're picking you up to where your destination is leading to. But basically this partnership is they're basically trying to make the entire travel experience, one, a lot easier, and two, a lot more predictable. Like they said towards the end of the video, they're recommending you leave 2 hours earlier, but you never know. There's sometimes, I'm sure we've all been in a situation to where oh, I'm gonna leave 3 hours early because last time I was kind of super close to my flight, and then you're there for there's nobody there, or vice versa. You think, oh, last time I gave myself 3 hours, I was there for 2 hours, and then you like have to sprint. So I really like that they have that included. I think especially like security wait times, I feel like that's like the biggest, kind of unpredictable feature of air travel. So I thought that was pretty cool. If you didn't have the pre-check already, again, like they said they matched up, but still nice to have. So I believe it's already out. I think that it came out either 1 or 2 years ago. And then virtual queuing company. So Yline is a super popular company in this segment. Basically, it's a really similar technology to what Clear's doing, but it just made it a lot faster for facial recognition stuff, and then your fingerprint. Basically, just combining technologies there. And then Resi and American Express, I know we covered a little bit of COVID. We didn't want to kind of harp on COVID as a group because they made a lot of acquisitions, a lot of stuff, not even through R&D, just as the company, everybody, kind of had to pivot with COVID. And so everybody kind of had their little thing that they had to do differently, and Clear was obviously a big part of that with vaccination requirements and stuff like that, and that's kind of a little bit what they did with Resi and American Express. Basically, when you make a reservation, it would just give you a proof of vaccination thing for Resi really fast. But there was all sorts of little things that they did with COVID that made it a lot easier. But again, we didn't want to harp on that because we don't feel like that's like the future of the company. That's just what they did to survive, at that time. But definitely, it was a huge part of why they stayed successful during this. So. Yeah. And then this is just a little bit of their financials. Again, they are up 64% year over year in their R&D, and then obviously 14 million in the last quarter, and then a total of 48 invested in 2021. So it's a big part of their company. They definitely want this to keep growing, and we've always said that R&D we feel like is how you read the future of the company. So that's a really good sign. And then they're pretty public about wanting to keep investing in that and it being a huge process of the company itself. So I think they have a really good vision going forward.
Okay, so moving along to overcoming challenges. So I kind of got my start in like healthcare, and there was a point where our office was moving from all paper files to electronic, and we had a lot of patients who had issues with their information being stored electronically. So that is one of the major challenges that Clear faces with rolling out their idea, was just kind of getting people to get behind, adopting the idea that their information is safe. And then another challenge would be implementing. So implementing enough locations to make the membership cost worthwhile. Like NC mentioned, they're at most of the major airports and some major stadiums as well. But the more locations they can implement, I think the easier it will be to sell that higher membership cost. And then relaying information to potential customers, I think there's some confusion with, TSA PreCheck and how does that work? Does that include TSA PreCheck, that sort of thing? So kind of getting into that space where they can really relay all of that information about their company and what they offer. And then lastly, targeting each demographic for broader adoption. Like I said earlier, the patients who kind of had issues trusting the electronic safeguarding of information tended to be like the older crowd. And so I think kind of deciding, different marketing techniques where they can reach those different demographics for wider adoption. And then here's a little compare and contrast between TSA PreCheck and Clear. TSA PreCheck is government run, Clear is privately owned. TSA PreCheck is $85 every 5 years, Clear is roughly $179 per year. And then TSA is physical screening, Clear is document identification screening. TSA PreCheck is at over 200 domestic airports, Clear is at over 50, I believe, and then larger stadiums around the US as well. TSA PreCheck takes a little longer to be approved, around 3 to 5 days, and then clear is about 10 minutes. You can do that while you're at the airport. And then the last question.
47 million.
There's two sides.
No, it is. It's like 47.5.
Which card are you going to select?
Yeah, which card do you want? Left or right hand? Wonder how much that is.
47 million, right?
All right, some discussion questions. If you guys would like to answer or contribute or entertain any, or if you have any questions to present to the group, this is the time.
I just have one question about your presentation. You've talked about all this security at the airport related and sports centers and things like that. A good part of my professional life, I've had to go through doors where I had to card or ID my way in, and have they done anything with trying to sell a product to Boeing or all of these other bigger companies where, you know, $185 a year is nothing as a benefit if you could streamline your workforce going through security checks?
Absolutely.
Did any of you see that? Because the emphasis in your presentation has really been security or medical, going into sports or at airports, but it seems like there's a huge opportunity for security in other venues, including even on this campus. When you go to the off hours to the library or whatever the case may be, and all of that seems to be like something that would work.
So I didn't hear, or I didn't read anything directly on that. I think their partnership with Tapit is kind of, sort of what you're saying. I mean, they just recently expanded to past airports within like the last 5 years. I know that they're trying to get into other ways. Basically, they just don't want you to carry anything. It's like they don't, again, like the CEO, he had a quote, basically he doesn't want no wallet, nothing, so just to walk around. So I would feel like that would be a part of it. I mean, I couldn't tell you a specific company they've invested in or if they are working towards that, but I feel like just in general, they are trying to eliminate that sort of, hiccup. But I agree, it would be a great place to start for expansion.
I did feel like the home to gate idea threw me off a little bit because they're very clear about they're a biometrics company. It's used for identifying the persons for venues, for the airport. But then that is streamlining the whole travel experience. So I do think, you know, the technology in the company has a lot going for them, and if they expand in that aspect, it's fantastic. I feel like if they try and also get into streamlining all of travel, they're gonna trip themselves up at some point, because you can't solely focus on both. So do you want to streamline travel, or are you focused on security in any venue?
I have to agree. I think more that just because I read that part of the Uber article. I think that streamlined travel process is more on the Uber side. I think Clear joined that as to say like, hey, you want to provide all this information to make it easier for your people, so you know exactly, the Uber driver knows exactly when they get there to pick you up. So the Clear portion of it was just saying like, hey, this would be your wait time because of this, or you know, you might be subject to a lot more, I guess, unpredictableness.
Okay.
Not a word, but basically, Clear was just to say, hey, we'll skip this so it can be a lot easier for your end, and then it also helps us because people associate Uber now with Clear, making our name bigger.
So Uber's kind of like advertising for Clear.
The way
when they
I
pick
read
you
it,
up, like,
right.
hey, you could be faster if you also want to sign up for Clear,
Correct.
instead of us having to pick you up 45 minutes earlier.
Yeah, I wasn't
Okay.
in the boardroom, but the way
Right.
the way I read that article is that's how it made sense.
I thought they were going into like, let's streamline
Sure,
travel.
sure,
I was like, that's
yeah,
a really
Fair enough.
weird side gate.
Hold on, Danielle.
Oh, yeah, mine was more or less, it reminded me of the movie Minority Report. Has anyone seen that? With with
Some time
Tom
ago.
Cruise. So that's literally how I felt about hearing about. I didn't even know this was out there. For me, it's a little Big Brother. Me and technology is a little scary. I don't know if I can handle it. Where's it going? I'm gonna walk into Macy's and be, scan my eyeball. That's just weird. But that's kind of where I see it going. Eventually, it's just gonna snowball into every single venue for security. I don't know how to feel about it.
Hold on, we got Haroon first.
Oh, I was I'm a little concerned that the company has their hands in a lot of different things, and I don't feel like they've figured out what their future is. They obviously started out as a security, get you across the security line kind of thing, but like they're in so many different directions. What's their identity and I didn't get that very clear.
I think, I don't know, from my research, what I understand is that the products, it's a product innovation and process innovation. So the product is the security, the biometric security. And then the process was the streamline entry into the largely, dense areas, such as largely populated areas, such as airports, such as arenas and things of that sort. So I think it goes hand in hand as far as what their model is. And now they're partnering with places like Uber to make the streamlined process that much bigger and whatnot, So that's what I got it. Hopefully, Shahid was up first.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys included the slide that showed the difference between this and pre-check, because I've seen this at the airport and I always was jealous of the people. I was like, oh, it must be some rich exclusive thing. But I realize now that pre-checks, I have pre-check and it's way better. It's the differentiators, it's in less airports, it costs more money, and yet you said when you and your wife go, you still have to go through regular security.
Yeah.
So it saves you 5 minutes of standing there waiting for a person to look at your ID, but at the same time, then you still have to take your shoes off.
Well,
skip the whole line.
yeah, you
skip
skip
the line,
The
but
line
you
to-
still have to take your shoes off.
Oh.
Yeah, so from that point, yeah.
That's where pre-check kicks in, yeah.
The pre-check, so we both get to we both skip the line, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
the envious part, and then at that point, she goes to the pre-check side, and I
Yeah.
go to my other side.
Because
where
there's a
I take
pre-check
off.
line too.
Laptop out, you have to.
Yeah, you got to
This is the majority of the line with this.
Yeah. Hold on, Felicia was up first. Felicia was up first. No, Felicia was up first, yeah.
Okay, no, just to build off of that, just now in December when I was flying back from Norway, I found myself to go through the whole line of over 50 minutes waiting, only to arrive to a pre-check one, where I was told to go back in line, but then figure it out where the pre-check line starts and the normal line starts, because there was no sort of signs or anything. And that's where I realized, oh, this line only takes 30 minutes, so the pre-check line was 50 minutes long. The other line was 30 minutes long. We still missed our flight because of that. And I don't fully understand how the pre-check is supposed to be so sufficient all the time when there seems to not be always a great system around it. And this was in New York.
Well, that's why the home gate is there to hopefully.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what's being said.
Yeah, so that's why the home to gate thing is there now. So you can literally, you can see, hey, pre-check line is super long or, whatever. So I thought that was probably the coolest feature. I mean, I just have a headache every time I travel. I mean, like you. So, so that it seemed like it solved a lot of the issues. Obviously, there's always going to be, it's not going to be super easy, but they did a good job.
So I literally hate this idea, and I think it's bad on so many different levels. And most of it has to do cybersecurity, especially in today's world, that's where the fight is coming from, right? With Russia, especially China as well, right? And this company, what's next? DNA check. I mean, it just seems. I'm saying, she saw that movie. I thought Gattaca, in this, and but I'm saying when you give that information, you're making yourself so much more susceptible, and this is just a way for more of the U.S. population to be more susceptible to having this personal information to our the enemies of the world, unfortunately. And there's already enough of that with TikTok and facial recognition. So China already has all that.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I get what they're trying to do. I just think it's a very bad idea.
I think
I said,
if
I'm
they
with you,
didn't
Blake.
do it, I'm with you,
I'm against
I'm with you. I think a lot of innovation nowadays, I feel like would have been, I would have been opposed to it 10 years ago, but I think if they didn't do it, somebody else would. And I think that that's the goal of the company, why they want to expand to so many different things, is like, they just want to be the name in security. So like when you think of, hey, right, I gotta go through Clear to get to the Mariners game, I gotta go through Clear to get, whatever. So like that's what they're trying to do. I'm with you guys. I think it's super sketched out by being able to read my eyes and just, go to a Macy's or something, right? Like, that's really weird, but I just think that if like someone would same with the Ford situation, I think it's just the way it is now. And I think that that's the only way that they can do it. I think the Microsoft collaboration was, how much safer do you feel really? But it's, at least they took a step in the right direction. Yeah. But I'm with you.
Okay.
I probably have like the poster story for Clear, but we won't go into that. I signed up for free basically, needing to get through security that the Como 5 News was at CTAC to document on because it was so bad. So it saved me hours because my TSA pre-check got messed up. Anyways, but the whole wait time thing, Seattle has an app like FlyC, and you can see what their wait time is.
There you go.
You don't even need
Good
Clear
idea.
to know how long you're.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't have a security.
And you could sign up and cancel within 2 weeks.
And that's what I did, so I could get security for free, and I never paid Clear.
Yeah.
I have my fingerprints, but.
And your eyeballs.
I don't think they gave me that. I didn't even choose.
Oh, so you have
I don't have Clear, but I have TSA PreCheck. I haven't ran into really an experience where the TSA PreCheck line is super long, right? But we might be getting to the point where even the TSA PreCheck line is out the door. Right, yeah, so.
Right, or if everybody gets clear,